time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Hey, happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie with Nielsen and Gager. I don't know why I find this so funny, but I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see it. If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, you can. Cass is going to be a little late joining us today, so I threw up a picture of Grizzly Adams instead. And it just, Gager, when he joins us, I'm going to put his voice up, but leave that image up and have him talk like that for a little bit. That's his punishment for rolling in late today, buddy.
I forget what late night guy, but he just had the mouth move. If we could just have the mouth move, that would be great.
It's a good look. It kind of looks like him a little bit. Look like he's going on with that beard right now.
He's
so
got that thick beard. That's a thick beard. I wish I could do that. You know, just have the Grizzly Adams.
Look at this coming in, eh? Look at this.
I know. Yeah.
2 weeks. 2 weeks growth. So yeah. I gotta be careful because as soon as it comes in here, you're gonna be able to see I'm going gray. So I gotta be careful
Dusty.
of that.
There's the silver fox is definitely like I shave now and I thought I had more hair than that. No, it's just all white.
Yeah.
Can't see it.
Just speaking of hair, who's I talking to? Eric at work. We haven't done a draft in a while. I'll probably do a Christmas draft. But in the new year, we're going to do a draft of bald guys. And I would like to extend an invite to you, Gager.
I might have to come in for that one.
I think you and Yukon Jack. And we'll see how it goes, right? So I think that'd be fun. There's so many famous bald guys, right? So it would be, hell, you might even get picked. So,
First draft where I pick myself.
Anyway, so Cass is going to pop by. What movie was it where there's and Grizzly Adams had a beard, and then they got Grizzly Adams did have a beard. That was Happy Gilmore. I think it was Happy Gilmore, wasn't it? It was Shooter McGavin who's like, Grizzly Adams had a beard. Yeah. And then they go to Trevino and he's like, Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
So Cass is watching the end credits of Andor? Is that what
I think that's what it is. He's going to hate when he rolls in and we've already talked about the Andor episode. Like that's the issue you have here, buddy. You got to be here on time because I mean, the post-credit scene as they're putting like final pieces into the Death Star. I'm like, come on. Didn't see that coming, buddy.
You didn't? I did. I saw that coming. I
didn't see it coming.
Yeah. I thought they're doing something built like they're making these things, right? So they're doing something to build the Death Star. And to see that they were one of the integral parts of the weapon itself. That's great.
That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I really liked that show, man. Even that, the 11th episode was a little bit slower after the prison break and stuff, but I still loved it. Like, they just did such a good job. And we'll get to hockey in a second here. Everybody knows we like to nerd out of this stuff. They did such a good job setting up the characters here. Like, if you're not feeling Cassian Andor right, man, now, he was great. They were all great. That final episode with the music playing as he sneaked, it was epic. It was an epic season finale.
Well, and just learning about the how evil the Empire was. You know, we just think of Vader and Palpatine as the Empire, but the Empire CIA division, I forget what their name was, but they were awful, awful people, right? Like, it was so good. Such a good show.
I can't wait to the next season. The way they laid it out when he's like, bring me on or kill me. I was just like, God, he's not going to kill him. This is a valuable asset.
This is great. Yeah.
No, it's going to be good. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch it again because it was, I'm going to probably binge the whole thing back to back and kind of get a good feel for it. So, no, it was really good. All right. So, sorry, Cass, you missed out on that. Hopefully it pops into something. I really want to do that voice bit. That would be really fun. Gager, you were working Oilers Plus post-game, pre and post-game last night. I mean, there's a lot of things I've got written down here that we can discuss, but in your opinion, what was the biggest thing coming out of last night's game?
Oh God, you just said that. And I go back to the interviews after. The nice thing about Oilers Plus is you get those interviews and everyone gets them, but we get them really quickly. And some of the players were getting a little bit tired of having to answer the same questions, and you saw a little bit of saltiness with Woodcroft and
Yeah,
the
it's a
Nuge.
DNB there. Yeah.
Yeah, he asked some good questions there that got under the Oilers' skin. But I mean, let's just look at everyone saw, oh, they had 50 shots on net and this, and I'll just go on this point. This was a big point for me is Sorokin saw every single one of those pucks. And I'm not saying that he didn't play well, because there was a couple second chance opportunities. I think Hyman had a really good one, and he spread out and made a couple nice second saves.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he saw everything. That's the easiest 50 save shutout I think you could have at that point.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask. I just tweeted out. I just said, did the Oilers get goalied last night? Because I heard them talking about it on Sportsnet last night. Rashad brought up again, and in my mind, I'm like, I didn't view that as Sorokin stood on his head last night. I viewed that as 3 or 4 pretty good scoring chances, which he was great on, and then a lot of stuff that was not contested at all.
Nothing. There was no center drive or having to worry about rebounds at that point. There was no pressure towards that. Yeah, there was lots of shots, but how many from the wall, Dusty, or the point without anyone in front? He's playing great. You're going to have, when an NHL goalie is playing like that, you have, the only way you are going to score on him is second opportunities or deflections or scrambles in front like that. And the Oilers have none of that. And if we look back at the beginning of the season, we talked about how Coach Woodcroft said when he took over the team last year, we have to start scoring the goal May, June type goals. We can't be scoring October, November type goals. Those don't work at that time of the year. And that's how the Oilers are playing all over the ice. And I know I'm saying that from a goal scoring standpoint, but it's those hard areas where it is not difficult for the opposing team that the Oilers are playing to play against them, and it's just not working for them. So
yeah, that's one of the big ones coming out last night. At the one end, a lot of easy shots, but at the other end, well, we'll talk about the goals in a second. What'd you think of Jack Campbell? Let's just go there first. What'd you think of Campbell last night?
He was good.
He was fine, right? Jack Campbell was fine.
I mean, that's how he's played most of his games so far. He hasn't had I don't think the really dominating performance. He's played really good and some bad ones, right? He made the stops, I think, that he was supposed to stop. I mean, it's so difficult to stop a puck when your D-man, it goes off your D-man. First of all, you're not expecting it. The first goal that's really tough because out of your eye, you see one of their players and 2 of your guys covering him. You're not thinking that he's going to get the puck. And even at that point, being able to go back against the grain with it is even more ridiculous. The third one, everyone's kind of puck watching. That's the third goal that has kind of blown through the old, I don't want to say it because I like the gear, but the Vaughn Trapper. It just, I don't know if it seems like 3 goals now have gone through that glove. Dusty, it's kind of, I've never seen this before, but no, I had no problems with Jack Campbell's game. He kept the Oilers within striking distance, and as you see with their goals, they were going to the net. Oilers didn't, to a man, they just didn't. They don't have that extra tenacity for those second chance opportunities that you're going to have against Sorokin or a goalie that's playing on the top of his game.
I mean, you kind of just broke those goals down, and like the one where it's 2-on-1, it seems like Barry and Nuge are just like, oh, he's going to get him. I'll just go this way, and he'll go this way, and boom, it's in the back of the net. Bouchard obviously having a little bit of a tough season here so far as well. And then the third one, Bouchard's watching. Draisaitl doesn't bother picking up the 4th guy because the other 3 Islanders are already in the zone, and Nuge has one of them. Aho's got to be picked up by somebody, and I didn't like Draisaitl's effort trying to get back. I mean, even if you can't get back, you got to act like you want to get back, which I think is becoming a little bit of a concern as well. To me, Gager, it's almost like they just have it on cruise control, in the defensive zone. Like there's no sense of urgency in the defensive zone. And to me, the offense that they're playing, whoever it is, looks so much hungrier in the offensive zone. It's so much more aggressive than the Oilers are defensively. And I'm not saying they're a soft group, but I just don't see a commitment by the entire 5-man group. And we can pile on their defensemen if they want to. We can do that all day if we wanted to. But I think that entire group, they look pre-Woodcroft defensive zone focused right now. Is that simplifying it too much? Because that's what I'm getting. They give up the fifth most goals in the National Hockey League right now, man. Like, that's unacceptable. It doesn't matter what else is going on if you're tough enough or their bottom six is scoring. When you play the way that you do defensively, I mean, if they're going to turn it around, it has to start there, doesn't it?
Yeah. There has to be a way bigger commitment on the defensive side of the puck. I mean, when I watch, and even that third goal, you see every Oiler looking behind the net at the puck. No one's like, he's not going to score from there. The most dangerous person on the ice is the guy without the puck in those types of situations. And you have 3-4 guys all staring right at the puck.
You got to identify it. Yeah.
And the lack of communication between players in their own zone. I've got this guy, take that, the switching. It's so disorganized, Dusty. And I think you were talking about it on your show today, that where does that start? How does it get fixed? Like, everyone's thinking, oh, how do we do this? And it has to start at the top. You have to have commitment from the big dogs to play a certain way if you want to succeed. And we've seen it from the top end guys playing a physical type of game. But when you watch the forecheck of some players, there's a lot of swinging. There's letting the other team's defense off the hook that Oilers defensemen do not get let off the hook. Their checks are being finished because teams know that that's a weak point for the Oilers. They're causing turnovers. And when you don't have that commitment from everybody to play a certain way, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work throughout your whole lineup. Connor McDavid he doesn't need to blow guys up, but he needs to set the tone for the rest of the guys to follow. And so he needs to finish his checks. Leon Draisaitl needs to play a way more physical brand of hockey because, let's face it, when he is playing that way, he gets compared to Mark Messier.
Yeah, he's great.
He's bringing guys to him. I haven't seen that from him at all this year. These guys need to get a little bit more of a mean on and play way more aggressively, because when those two guys do it, especially those two, everyone just gets pumped up and follows straight along with it. And we saw that last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, it gets everybody going. And it could be the conversation of, how do they get back on track right now? Well, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to have to lead you out of it, because that's what top end guys do. And then why don't they start games better? Well, McDavid and Draisaitl got to lead you to better starts as well. You can't go. It seems like if they have 5 shots in the first 12 minutes of a game, it would be amazing. It's the same type of thing. It's that assertiveness early, and then, they try to push and they get a bunch of shots when a team's just sitting back protecting a lead right now. And I was talking about that on my show today, and one guy texted me, he goes, Dusty, McDavid and Draisaitl are 1 and 2 in league scoring. You can't put any of this on them. And I'm like, okay, well, they do have 35 and 32 points. They're also +1 and +2. You know what I mean? A lot of the points have come on the power play, and at 5-on-5, they've just been okay, in my opinion, so far this year. So it has to start there. The rest of the supporting cast, would you love them to pick you up along the way as well? Yeah, but if Dylan Holloway or Derek Ryan or Puljujarvi or Fogle or whoever sees Leon Draisaitl busting his ass getting back on a back check, they're going to go out and bust their ass to get back on a back check. Now, they all should anyway. I mean, that should be how it is. But with this team, with what we've seen over the last few years, Gager, they go as the motor of McDavid and Draisaitl go. And I think that's kind of an issue right now. And look, McDavid and Draisaitl could combine for 8 points, and they can win a game 5-3 on Saturday, and everybody might be like, everything's fine. But I think you can look for a lot of those smaller aspects of the game to really see if it's kind of turning around, can't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not, from all accounts, and I'm not in that room, but everyone says they don't have the raw guy. And I think you've even heard Leon and Connor mention that they try to lead by example. So there has to be that type of game. I like when you watch, if you go through the league, Dusty, and you look at the other top players, like I watched a little bit of that Calgary game, and I saw Jonathan Huberdeau finish some checks, like some hard checks. I saw like Nathan McKinnon, if he gets a chance, he's gonna railroad somebody, right? Like there's some physical play, and everyone gets pumped up when they see stuff like that. And if when you look at the way the Oilers play, it kind of mirrors the McDavid and Draisaitl kind of, we got to score. We got to do, like, there's way more emphasis on the offense and trying to do this than there is on the defensive side right now, for sure.
I think the team can play that way because we've seen them play that way. It's just a matter of those top guys getting the urgency to play that way, right? And maybe a 500 record here at American Thanksgiving is the difference maker that we needed. All right, let's bring in Cass. Cass, before we actually let you on the screen here, there, now say hey. What's up, Cass? How you doing, buddy?
What's up? How's it going?
I think it looks really good. Hey, can you say
know who that guy is?
Grizzly Adams did have a beard? Can you say that for us?
Grizzly Adams did have a beard. Classic.
That's who we threw in there. All right, Cass, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. Sorry about running late, fellas.
No, all good, man.
Yeah,
all good.
I had a little office situation come up that needed to get taken care of. So
don't worry, we just spent the last 17 minutes ripping everybody. So it's you did miss our Andor discussion though. Sorry, bud.
Is that the cup for the
F1
pool?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I missed the first 2 weeks, and I have to go and check. I think I may have won the most weeks out of everybody. The most times.
Commish, what say you?
Since I joined, like after that, I would have to double check though.
This is why I'm excited for next season of the F1 fantasy pool, because there's going to be a little bit more things. Like race week, who won that week. We're going to do a little bit more things. I know the points were told. I'm going to have an extra little category for points.
I think you can have a couple. I think you can have Gage. I was thinking about this too, because I'm like, how can we make it a little bit more competitive for the guys, even if you're not like at the top? Like, say, like, how can you make it fun? Is like, I think you can, if everyone does 2 teams, that could be pretty fun.
Well, we're doing 2 teams. That's a given.
Wow.
Yeah, and 2 teams. So it's you have your total leader, right? So you have your total leader, you have your per week winner podium. So your podium finishes get standings. And I mean, I don't know. There's a couple fun things you could do.
Well, and there's a mandatory substitution every week, at least one.
Oh, okay. Oh, geez. Yeah. So what if you really like your lineup? You still got to make a switch? That's tough.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't think so, because you gotta, what you just have to do, Dusty, is then you time it. So I mean, I know you guys weren't really paying attention to this until later, but
I finished third. I made 3 lineup changes all year.
Right. So again, I have a sense, I'm fairly certain that I was either close to or I won the most times, even though I joined late after I joined. And I certainly towards the end started winning on a more regular basis because I increased the value of my team, where I had better and better and better and better drivers. Like no one could ice the same lineup, or whatever you want to call it. I guess that's a hockey term. They couldn't put out the same lineup that I could, because I just had way more money available. So it's like you can do stuff like that too. So moving and making those roster moves during the week is important. Even if there was more than once I'd switch away from the guys I knew I wanted because they were trending in a negative direction, and I'd move to people that were trending in an upward direction, so their price would go up, and then I'd move back to the guy for cheaper, so that I'd increase that roster.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was. Anyways, that's a lot of F1 talk. But anyways, I'm excited for the next season for that too, Gager, because to me, it's like it's not nearly as in depth as a fantasy football, but it's really fun. So it's like I can do it with 5 to 10 minutes a week and be done with it, instead of having to pour through for hours and hours and hours. So Yeah.
Well, I'm going to rent a room at the JW, and we're going to do it like the F1 drivers. We're all going to sit in the conference and discuss. And so
Discuss rules
Every
that'd be
week
fun.
we have a commitment. We all have to show up in person every week. that would be something else. All right, Cass. Well, Gager laid it out earlier. Well, we can bring you in on some of the conversations. But for last night's game for the Oilers, what was issue number one in your opinion?
Details. Again, details. Attention to details. Like I know I've texted you guys about it. I've talked with Tom about it. I was talking with some of my coworkers about it here at work today. Even like this is how much I think it is. Just I think there's little habits that are in the Oilers game that are really, really affecting them right now. And the number one habit to me is, and I know where it comes from. It comes from Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and they're allowed to have this habit. Everybody else isn't. No one else should have this habit. They should be the only guys. Is swinging through and cheating on the offensive side of the puck all the time. Defensive zone, offensive zone, penalty kill, power play, all over the ice all the time. You'll just watch little button hooks everywhere instead of straight lines. Drives me absolutely bonkers on the penalty kill because you need straight lines in a penalty kill. The second that you button hook, the second that you turn, the second that you get outside the dots with that little, I'm just going to do a little TV turn, lanes open up and the puck is able to move more freely and you get yourself in trouble. And I think defensively in the defensive zone, it's an issue that's impacting them hugely. Defensemen are doing this. Now, again, players that are extremely fast, and I'm going to exclude the penalty kill because you still can't, no matter how fast you are on the penalty kill.
You got to be straight lines on the penalty kill. Yeah.
Got to be straight lines on the penalty kill. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the defensive zone, you give them leeway doing this because they're your high risk, high reward offensive guys that can put the puck in the net and fill it. And you want them to have that freedom in their game. Absolutely. Everybody else has to get rid of it, has to get it out there. And to me, it's a massive, massive issue right now that needs to get corrected, that needs to get ironed out of the game. I think it's just creating all kinds of issues for them defensively.
I think Gager and I are probably thinking the same thing right now. So I'm going to say it. Is it okay to have a double standard for two guys when everybody else, you know what I mean? Like, is it okay to be like, oh, McDavid and Dry, so you guys can fly the zone a little bit? Like, I feel like that's kind of the problem anyway. Don't you
have to know that though? No, there is a double. Well, Dusty, like there is a double standard completely. And there should be. For those two, there absolutely should be.
But even like on the forecheck, flybys on the forecheck.
But the problem is, Dusty. The problem is when it because there's always the potential that it bleeds into everyone else's game. The problem is when the coaches don't clamp down on it, and I think it needs to be very clear. And players should understand. I understood that there was no way I was doing a flyby ever. But I think with let's call it more modern coaching style, where it's more of a friendship coaching, and you want to hold guys accountable, but it's not necessarily as clear cut as some of the old school stuff, which is probably a good thing, I would say overall. However, I think you have some personality bleed that happens there, and you need to clamp down on it. And it's the coaches that need to clamp down on it, and it's the leaders in the dressing room that need to clamp down on it. And I know that can be tough. You know, it can be tough to go to Ryan McLeod and say, hey, you can't be doing that. Because he's like, well, Connor and Leon do it. And it's like, well, they're Connor and Leon. They have the ability to do it and put up hundreds of points a year. You can't. I mean, I know that there's the risk of people being upset about that, but
I think for this team, if they want to win a Stanley Cup one day, I'd be okay with McDavid and Draisaitl putting up 95 points and finishing checks so that everyone else follows along, right? Like that's how I view it. I mean, maybe you don't have to do it all the time, Cass. I understand what you're saying, like definitely in the playoffs, but when you're 10-10, Gager, where do you come out of this? Where do you come out of this discussion?
I think it's very situational right now. Like where the Oilers are now, they can't afford to have guys swinging on checks and playing a certain way. It's not a switch, I don't think, that you can just turn on when things matter most. They're all, a lot of these guys are doing that right now, and like Dusty and I were saying before, Cass, like these guys, Connor and Leon, by all accounts, aren't rah guys. They lead by example, and their example that they're setting and these guys that are looking up to him, on the defensive side of the puck isn't something that other players on their team should be emulating. It's just not working. There needs to be way more of a commitment on the defensive side of the puck. And I get the taking chances, but if that's the case, they got to pick their spots way better.
And that's fair to say that they do it or have been doing it too much. That's fair. I get that. I think you need to, as a role-playing guy, you need to be able to mentally and in your style of game, you need to be able to separate that, knowing that that's not how you're going to play to be successful. That's not it. And as a defenseman, especially, that's not how you're going to play and be successful. All the defensemen, you're not Cale Makar. No one on the Oilers is Cale Makar. No one. If he plays that way, I'm fine with it. Everyone else, play defense. Play defense. You're giving up way too much. Play defense. And so it's not even just the forwards, Gager. Like, and again, I think you're right to say, okay, maybe they could pick their spots a little bit more with that. Draisaitl and McDavid, totally fine with that argument. But it's bled into the defenseman too, which, I mean, I don't know. It's just, well, I don't know, guys. It's just a huge issue.
Let's stick with the defense for a second because, I mean, we can talk about all of them individually, but we were texting about Darnell Nurse, and we've done a lot of texting about Darnell Nurse so far this year, and I think we have a few different theories on it. Gager, I mean, he plays a lot, but he's always played a lot and gets paid to play a lot. What are you not seeing, I guess? Like, I was watching the game last night. I don't know if it's the way they draw it up or he's just trying to get up ice really quick, but one of the D-men was passing it up and kind of passed it up into the neutral zone on the wing. And I was just like, oh, who's that winger? And it was Darnell Nurse waiting up there for a pass. I was just like, it seems usually the two guys would sort of work it up together. So I don't know. He just seems disconnected a little bit right now. What are you seeing in Darnell Nurse's game or not seeing, however you want to approach it?
I really think it's a guy that has he's put too much on his plate. He thinks he has to do everything. Like Cass said, he's not Cale Makar. Like I look at Darnell Nurse as a 2-3 defenseman, really, in what he is capable of. He needs to simplify the game and be way harder to play against. Like, I know he plays a lot, but it seems like he's playing 35 minutes a game, where he doesn't look difficult to play against to me. Like, there's no punishment towards the other player, no tenacity. Like, when Darnell Nurse is playing well, it seems like he's reading the play better. He's anticipating and he's communicating. There's none of that I see from him this year. He's struggling to me. He's one, and he can't have him playing this way. He's got to be way better than what he's shown. And I'm not saying offensively. He has to be way tougher if he's going to play that much, he has to be way tougher to play against, where guys are coming down and looking to whoever his partner is to go down his side, because it's just way too difficult to go up against Darnell Nurse. And I hate to say it, but it's an easy game right now when he's on the ice.
Yeah, I just quickly hop in here, Cass, before you take over. I described the entire blue line like that today. Like, I think their blue line, especially in their own zone, has become, it looks like they're easy to play against. Like, I don't think anybody pays the price against the Oilers blue line. Cass, is that, I mean, Nurse, kind of back to the other discussion, like, Nurse is the tone setter in that, and he's kind of the one guy that should be able to do it on a regular basis, but everybody can play harder on the puck. Everybody can be more focused in their decisions. What are you seeing from Nurse, Cass?
Well, they can all be better in front of the net. They can all be more physical in front of the net. They can all win battles. And I'm not saying be physical, like just running somebody over or cross-checking someone in the face. Like, I'm just talking about winning stick battles. Like, even if you look at the goal that Bouchard tipped into his own net, even as he's tipping it in, it's like Anders Lee skates right through him. Like, it basically runs him over. And so I was like, well, I mean, if Bouchard doesn't put that puck in his own net, Anders Lee's probably putting it in that scenario, really. Like, because, Bouchard is just going to get boxed out and run over or knocked out and out of position and run over there. Darnell Nurse. to me, the physicality that he brings or needs to bring is a tricky one because he's oftentimes playing against the top line of the other team. So you can't just run out and just try to run over people and just be overly physical. I don't think that necessarily works. In that though, however, what I will say, I think his decision making this year has not been nearly as good as it was last year. I think he's really struggled with that. Part of me wonders, and I floated this idea to you guys a little bit. I wonder if there's a little bit of an injury hangover. Where has he really truly fully recovered? Is he really truly 100%? Is it something that's still lingering that's affecting him? Is it the type of injury, especially we know with like hip or hip flexor injuries, like those are tricky, fellas. Those are tricky. And I wonder if there's some of that that's hampering him a little bit. And it's a serious question to say, well, it's not anything where it's like, he's not like at 70% or 60%, but, I think the difference between Darnell Nurse at 100 and the difference between Darnell Nurse at, let's say, 90 to 95, I mean, that makes a serious difference in on-ice performance, guys. So I'm going to hypothesize.
Hypothetically size.
Hippopotamus size. That I think there's still a little bit of that going on. Just going to put it out there. I think there is.
Yeah. Now that you say that, Cass, because he was not effective physically against the latter part of the Flame series or the Colorado.
Yeah,
series. Just because he couldn't.
Part at that point.
He couldn't, right? And you see that he is very tentative when he initiates contact or contact comes to him. So
he's less assertive. Yeah. And I wonder, Gager, even if it's not because there's currently an injury, if it's a hangover in the way that it's because he had to play like that for a while.
Like that's how he had adjusted to play. He hasn't got back
right.
to. I see. Okay.
He hasn't got back, and
that makes sense.
Him. Or there's still lingering injury there. Yeah, one of the two.
Do you think like this is I as a player I would never say something like this, but do you think because of the physicality of the playoffs and what the Oilers went through last year and now realizing what it kind of takes, is there holding back by some guys now at this early part of the season and not ratcheting their play up to that level? Are they, because it seems odd to me, a team that played a certain way at the end of the season last year, and most of the same personnel are back, that you just don't see the same mean on and the same effort and tenacity and physicality. And again, I'm not saying that, and maybe it's just they're losing those battles, Cass, to me, that they didn't seem to be losing at the latter part of last year and into the playoffs. I'd hate to say that they're holding back and not giving everything they got, but there's that level of the game, it hasn't been there. It's been at certain parts it has, but not consistently, for sure.
I mean, I sure as heck hope that's not what's going on. Like,
yeah,
because if you run that way or you run this way the rest of the way, you're gonna.
That's the thing. Like, I feel like they're going through the motions a little bit, and pretty soon here they're going to be like, "Oh, shit, we got to get going," and then you'll see the team that we saw late last year and in the playoffs.
Like, if this keeps going, they've gone from a contender, I would say, at the beginning, to a team that needs to go on a run soon. That's a big jump.
All right. Before we wrap up, hey, now that we're all here, congratulations, boys. Over 400,000 downloads now for Two Guys at a Goalie. So that's really good. Next milestone, 500, which we could say is 500,000. So that's exciting. And then, well, anyway, that's pretty cool to hit 400,000. That's good. I like
awesome.
That. Did a bunch of it through the pandemic, too. It was really all we had to do during the pandemic, so that was kind of nice. And then we had Zwack23 on the Twitter stream today. Says, this is something we could totally handle. 3 husbands here. Do you guys have an opinion on cordless vacuums as an Xmas gift for the wife?
Oh, do it and tape it, please.
My wife would probably, well, maybe Well,
That's something you buy for the
That's
house
tricky.
in mid-April. That's not something
tricky.
you wrap up and put under a freaking Christmas tree. That's what I always wanted.
See,
It's
here's
not what
the thing.
you always
Here's the
wanted.
thing. You know what's tough for me with that, Dusty, is like so. For example, my father for my mother for her birthday, which is in November, so it just happened. He bought her a chainsaw, and she was tickled. Like, has been wanting a chainsaw for forever. Like, you buy my mother power tools, Christmas, birthday, Mother's Day, whenever you buy my mother a power tool or something like that. Like, if you were to buy her a new vacuum like that, my mother, anything with a motor engine that is functional, she will be absolutely thrilled. So the tough thing for me is I'm like, well,
But is he expecting her to clear the forest every week? Like, like, I feel like that's different. Like, she probably really wanted a chainsaw.
but what if his wife really wants a vacuum? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Okay, well,
it
that's a
depends on the
different
person.
conversation. That's a different
It
discussion.
depends on the person.
I got it. Okay. Just get the box. All right. Get the box, wrap the box, but put something else in it.
And then you'll know for next time.
Because
actually
if
get it
he
for her.
opens and
Wow,
sees
sneaky.
Dyson on there and goes, you will tell in 2 seconds if it worked or not. If she's excited, but then you get whatever, some nice sparkle balls or something, earrings. Like you'll have to dig through it. That's what I would do. If she's excited when she sees the vacuum, then you know what, you got next year's all taken care of, so you're all right. Right?
It's already bought and hidden somewhere. So it's a Valentine's Day gift.
Those are shark infested waters that guy's swimming in with a vacuum for Christmas to his wife. Awesome.
That would be
tape it, record it.
That'd be tough,
please.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Plus, first time we bought a Dyson, I didn't realize how expensive vacuum cleaners are. Like, and it's been a good one. We've got a pretty good one. It's not cordless. Cordless is a little bit of a game changer too. I mean, cordless would be, what's that run on? A few double A's? How's that work? Like, it's
rechargeable.
pretty good.
It's rechargeable,
Yeah.
but yeah,
that's not bad.
you don't want to lose power when you're sucking, Dusty.
All right, that's going to do it for episode 270. You don't want to lose power when you're sucking. And we'll be back on Monday with another episode. Enjoy the weekend, boys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Later.